Greetings in God's almighty, holy lighted love, which is the source of our being. I am Sananda ALfonzo, who is speaking to you from a suburb of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. On Earth's calendar, today is Saturday, May 27th, 2017, and it is 1:51 in the afternoon. We have some fantastic times ahead of us that we're all going to go through. Are you ready for the completion of human history on this planet before this planet goes through the reformation that it needs to in order to be reformed, renewed for life to start again several thousand years from now? We who are on this planet at this time are here very purposefully. God's divine plan is something that has been engaged for millions of years. Creation is a deliberate action by the Holy Source in order to raise souls to the pinnacle of understanding. Now, souls have free will, so some of us are moving very, very slowly. Others of us are moving moderately fast, and some of us are here to assist in that entire process. I'm one of the ones who are here to assist in the process. I am one of the ones who is helping to make all of this very understandable. We're not trying to be complicated or, super difficult to understand, or God isn't impressed by vanity or any kind of the egocentric activities that many humans are seeking for fame and to think that they are more special than somebody else. To that, God basically says, bah humbug. You're an individual human being. Your soul is made in the image and likeness of God. You are on a journey to live up to the greatest potential that God has birthed within your soul. Nobody is, I should say, less than anybody else or greater than anybody else. We're simply each on our own individual journeys to accomplish a mission that God birthed within us. Unfortunately, because of free will and all of the distractions that are being thrown at us, we oftentimes don't accomplish what we intended to accomplish before we were born. And yes, there is life before physical birth. There is life after physical death. Life does not begin with matter, does not begin with sex. Life begins in God. Some of you who say, well, what if you don't believe in God? Let me tell you something. You don't need to believe in the weather. It's going to happen anyway, isn't it? The snow's going to come, whether you believe in it or not. The rain's going to come, whether you believe it or not. The sun's going to come. There are certain things that are under God's control. They're part of creation, and no man anywhere can stop it. Within this thing that we call creation, within this thing that we call life, there are multiple dimensions. There are levels, which I guess if you can think of it in terms of a building, an institutional building, a hospital, a business, there are floors. And these floors exist simultaneously, whether you're on the first floor, second floor, 10th floor, 125th floor. All these floors exist simultaneously. And the people who are on the different floors do not see the people who are either above them or below them. Yet those people exist. This is a way of thinking of the structure of creation. There are levels, there are floors, there are dimensions that exist parallel to each other. There is no future, there is no past, there's only this continuous, everlasting, eternal now. And we are positioned in this eternal structure on one of the dimensions. And when we are born here, we're coming from a level within this massive structure called creation to arrive here to accomplish very predetermined achievements. The problem is, or the challenge is, overcoming the memory veil. A memory veil is put over the consciousness of each person, each individual soul, to give you an opportunity to have complete immersion in the dimension that you're participating in. Now, as you're in this dimension, say right now on this planet Earth, it is the challenge for you as an individual to recall, to remember, to bring back into consciousness the plan that you had for your life before you came to Earth. Now, you're born into a family, and that family can either be very supportive of what you're doing, or they could be very oppositional to what you're doing. Why are you born where you're born? It has to do with your individual desires to overcome certain challenges that are being brought to you in that situation. But the ultimate point is this: God is the reason that you have life. This holy source, this original being from which each and every one of us spring forth, come forth, are created from. Again, belief is not required. It is the fact, it is the truth, and to struggle to arrive at a place where you finally accept that there is something beyond physicality, far beyond physicality, that you are merely a product of this great consciousness, and to use your life to understand what the great consciousness wants from you, to use your life to try and understand the relationship between the great consciousness and your piece of the great consciousness that you call yourself. It's a very noble and honorable thing to do. Unfortunately, or I should say, as a matter of course, you have the opposing force who is also surrounding you and is trying to make the environment and the things happening in the environment more important than your spiritual quest. The oppositional force is as real as the progressive force, and the oppositional force is like the brakes on a vehicle that slows you down, that obstructs you, that delays you, that causes you to procrastinate, that makes you think that there's something more important than your spiritual advancement. It is a false teaching, and anyone who teaches this delay of spirituality, who promotes your emphasizing material things above your accomplishments of the soul, They're all false teachings, and those false teachings that comes from the opposition are embedded in everything, is contaminating almost everything that you can put your mind to. Is contaminating religion, is contaminating philosophy, is contaminating science. So many things need to change, need to be understood better. And what we're going to do, what the angels are going to do, what God's holy angels are going to do, is they're going to bring forth an education. They're going to present an education that is so far advanced from the superstitions that we presently think are reality. It's going to be absolutely astounding. Again, we do this because God has put a time limit on each level of progression. You can think of it as a cosmic semester coming to completion. It's the end of school. This earth, which is fantastic, which is beautiful, which has given us all that she can give us, needs to rest. She needs to be reborn. She needs to be reconstructed, recreated. And this is going to happen. It has to happen so that her life can continue. And the way it's going to occur is going to cause such changes, such upheavals in the environment, in the atmosphere, in the geography of this planet, the earthquakes, the volcanoes, the tornadoes, the cyclones. All of this natural change is due to become increasingly more severe, to a point where this planet is literally going to turn inside out. Think of if you were baking a dough and how you knead the dough, how you flatten it out, smash it, roll it back up. This planet is going to be, in a sense, smashed and rolled back up. Continents that are sitting at the bottom of the Pacific Ocean, which is where old Lemuria, the land of Mu, is sitting down there. It's beginning to rise again. The continent of Atlantis, sitting in the Atlantic Ocean, that's starting to rise. And parts of Earth that are presently above water are going to sink. America, this nation, this continent, is going to change. The North American continent is going to change. And all these changes that are going to occur is going to take away biological life. So if you try to remain on the surface of this planet or even inside the planet, ultimately you're going to die. And you're going to die because the earth must be reborn. And to be reborn, it must have these changes, these massive changes. It's not that God is mad at anybody. It's not that evil is running rampant. These changes that are going to occur to this planet are very natural changes. They were already known thousands of years ago that it was going to occur. So while the earth is going through her remake, her makeover, what's going to happen to biological life on this planet? Well, what's going to happen to biological life is, if it stays on the planet, it's going to die. Because the planet is not going to be able to support, all these changes are not going to be able to support biological life. So you're going to die. God has an alternative plan to you just being on the earth that's undergoing natural changes and having to die. And God's plan is this. We are about to be given final educational opportunities for spiritual growth, something that we should have been doing all along, but we made other things more important. Be that as it may, time's up. We have to either straighten up or wish that we did. Humans are going to leave this planet one way or the other. God's plan is to offer you an education that will put emphasis on your spirituality in such a practical fashion that abilities that have been talked about, have been kind of shown, are going to start becoming very naturally expressed by you. These abilities have to do with the topics called telepathy and psychokinesis or psionics. They have to do with abilities of the soul that are very natural abilities. People call them powers. People call them they have all kinds of names, extra human, super normal, blah, blah, blah. They are natural abilities of the soul. And the reason we have these abilities, the reason the soul has these abilities, not the body, the reason the soul has these abilities is because we souls are made in the image, and get this, the likeness of the Holy Source. The image of God is light. The likeness of God is spiritual ableness. Religions have told you that there are certain ceremonies and rituals that you have to go through in order to get closer to God. This is either a mistake, a misperception, or a direct lie. You are connected to God. You can't get more connected to God. The only thing you can do is to deny that connection, to cloud your light so that you cannot feel the connection and cannot see the connection, but you cannot break the connection between God and yourself. The angels, the holy angels of God, have a lot to say, and they're waiting to say a lot to us in order to help. This is a lighted love mission. No one is trying to, none of the higher beings, none of the beings of God are in any way here to cause any kind of harm. We are guides. We are guidance counselors. You are going to create harm to yourself through your opposition, through your resistance, through your hostility, antagonism. These energies that you generate inside yourself to oppose the light and love of God. That's where your pain is coming from. Your pain is coming from the battle that you do to stop God from becoming fully manifest in your life. Now, if we want to speak of special ones, we will speak of those souls who have come to earth for the purpose of giving assistance to the unfoldment of God's divine plan, who have become awake that that's what they're here to do, and who are aligning themselves through meditation and through conversation of how to start this education program. I will tell you that the education program involves tremendous communication avenues. Every communication avenue that we have now, whether that is the internet, whether that is television, radio, all is going to be utilized. Movies, TV programs, all is going to be utilized. Books, everything is going to be utilized to get the message across to every single human being on this planet. God wants you to know what you're up against. He wants you to know what is happening, why it's happening, so that you, with your free will, you are going to make a decision to come into alignment with God and his divine plan, or to oppose God and his divine plan. And I'll tell you something, God really doesn't care which one you choose, because God is God. God is all powerful. You can't damage it. You can't hurt it. You can't in any way stop how it functions. You simply delay the inevitable. If you don't graduate in God's mission in this incarnation with the body you presently have, you're going to die in that body, and you're going to be placed on a very new planet. There's a new planet that is created. It is a beautiful planet, but it's a jungle planet. It's a planet that doesn't have any technology whatsoever on it, and you're going to be incarnated there. You can call it the new Garden of Eden. You can call it the new paradise. You will be placed, you who fail will be placed in new bodies on this new earth, on this new planet, which will have all the natural products, fruits and vegetables, but absolutely no technology at all. You will start off brand new, like Adam and Eve, like cavemen, cavewomen, beings who have to use their intelligence in order to bring technology back into existence. So you will get your water from the creek, the river, the lake. You'll get your food from the trees in the ground. You'll get, everything's going to go back to square one. Since you don't want to graduate with God, since you don't want to change, since you don't want to evolve, since you don't want to be more of a soul than you are of flesh and blood, then your choice is going to put you on a planet where you're nothing more than a very high form of an animal. Since animalism is how you think is the great thing to do. Everything's physical. Everything is muscles and six-pack abs and hourglass figures. And since physicality is the god of your consciousness, you're going to be put on a planet where physicality, your ability to dig in the dirt with your hands, your ability to lift up tree limbs, your ability to swim in lakes, and all that's going to be part of your survival. Since you want the physical things of this earth to be more important than the spiritual God things of this earth, you're going to be given an opportunity to become almost nothing more than just a physical, human, flesh and blood being. This is your choice as you deny God, as you push God away, as you fight God, as you think that you are smarter than God, as you deny God. You are putting yourself, this isn't God doing this to you, this is you not meeting the requirements that God has, the standards that God has for your graduation, for your growth. You will be placed in a place that meets your stubborn consciousness, and that is your free will. That's why God, really doesn't care what you choose. You need to repeat the grade. You need to go through these lessons again. You need to try and find a higherness again. Well, then God's going to do that for you. Now, for us who are advancing, we're going to move onto a planet that presently exists right now in the Pleiadian constellation. And we're going to have come forth from us our natural soul abilities. And I mean, they are fantastic. They are going to seem like they're magical because you just can't believe that you are able to do certain things, such as have direct communication without using your mouth or vocal cords. The ability to command matter, to move in ways that you wanted to move without using your hands to move it, to call forth out of the atmosphere food to sustain your body without having to cook it. I mean, just some absolutely abilities that, again, are God empowered abilities that are granted to you from God creating you in the first place. When God created you, He created you with all of His abilities, all of His ingredients within you. To simplify this, think of baking, think of a cake the ingredients inside of a cake, if you take a slice of cake, that slice is not the entire cake, but the portion that it is contains all of the ingredients that the whole cake has. Same as a pie. You take a slice of it. You pour from a gallon of some liquid into a glass. That glass has all of the contents of the liquid that the original bottle has. It's a very, very simple concept. You are God in a miniature form. You are now I'm talking about the soul. I'm not talking about your physical body. Your physical body is your uniform of flesh. Very special, very important, very necessary is how you get your expressions, how you express your thoughts and your feelings, how you get them out. You get them out into the environment. You get them out through your uniform of flesh, or what can be called the soul's avatar, which people are fond of that name also. So people understand what an avatar is, and they understand that your avatar is not you. You are controlling your avatar. You are controlling your representative to express your thoughts, to express your feelings in a behavioral form. That's what your physical body is for. Your physical body is there to express your thoughts, to put into behavioral form your thoughts and your feelings and your emotions. That your body is there as your expression tool. It's not you, but it is the part of you that is used as a outlet for your energies to be represented. But you, soul, are like the hand inside of the sock puppet. You see, the sock puppet is not moving of its own. It is doing what the hand is commanding it to do. You, soul, are commander. You are a commander of your body, of your uniform, of your expressing tool, of your avatar. And until you switch in your awareness from being flesh and blood to being soul that's functioning through flesh and blood, then you don't have it right. And it's going to take some time for you to work on that to get it right. It's not that the body is bad. The body is a tool. It's an instrument. It's a fantastic, beautiful instrument. But it needs to be understood for what its real role is, as an expression instrument for your energetic thoughts and your energetic emotions to be put into a behavioral form. And let me tell you something. God does judge our behavior. He judges your behavior. He judges your thoughts that you are allowed to become a behavior. He judges your emotions that you are allowed to become a behavior. He watches that and he evaluates that because it lets him know what you're ready for or what you still need to work on. Again, we're coming at this from a guidance, educational point of view. The angels have something that they want to say. I guess I can read some of what they have to say. They speak, they're not physical, so they are more observing of our plight than they are interactive. The way they become interactive, you actually have to become incarnate, like I am. I'm incarnate. I'm a soul who has been here before, who has done this before. This is not my first time. I know what I'm doing. I know what I'm about. I know what God is looking for. I know the growth, the potential that each of us are capable of. I know the resistance and the opposition and the disbelief and the denial, because you have kept your mind too small. You have become so fond of your cradle. Your cradle is so comfortable. The people around you are so familiar, and you're so you don't want to leave. You don't want to grow. Some of you will do everything to stay inside your cradle. Well, life is not, nothing stays inside the cradle unless it's going to die, unless it's going to be stagnant and die. God is not about the cradle forever. He's about the cradle and its necessary nurturing service for the period of time that's important. But once that stage, once that phase is over, it's to be let go of, to move into the next phase of advancement, the next phase of growth, the next phase of expansion. Now, if you have a baby in the cradle, you say, oh my God, that's so beautiful, that's so wonderful. If you have a toddler in the cradle, you say, okay, that's good too. But eventually you want to put that toddler into their own bed. Eventually you want to put that toddler into a larger bed. Eventually you want to put that toddler into a teenager, and then from a teen into what's called adulthood. And it's interesting about this thing between when do you become an adult. First of all, being an adult physically, nature makes you an adult at puberty. In nature, there's only two stages. There is a child, that which cannot reproduce, and then there's the adult, that which can reproduce. According to nature, the dividing line is puberty. Once you're able to reproduce yourself, nature says you're an adult. Now, man has his calendar and he has his rules, and he determines adult according to what he thinks is best. And he'll say you're an adult at whatever age he thinks is the right age. And depending on what time frame you're looking at in terms of Earth history, that age has changed between you're an adult at 12. You can have your bar mitzvah or bat mitzvah. You can have your quinceañera. You can have your little ceremony to show that you are no longer a baby, no longer a child, no longer an irresponsible somebody, but you are now ready to start taking adult responsibility for your thoughts, your feelings, and your behavior. So the whole idea of what's a child, what's an adult, again, is relative to what system you're using. If you're using nature's system, it's going to be different than if you're using any of man's diverse systems, and how you feel inside yourself. There, you can be an adult, psychologically speaking. Now, your psychological maturity can arrive at absolutely any time. Your psychological, if your psychological maturity arrives at 6 or 7 or 8 or what, you're considered to be a genius. If your psychological maturity arrives at 15, 16, 17, you may be considered to be precocious, somebody who is an old soul. I was always an old soul. I knew when I was a child, 6, 7 years old, I knew that I was a man living as a little boy, and I couldn't wait for my body to grow up to where my mind was. My mind has always been very mature, very advanced. I always liked hanging around, talking to adults and talking on topics that people who were so-called more experienced than me, they thought, well, how can he hang with us in these intellectual conversations? He's a child. And yet my psychological maturity was not of a child. It was of a grown person. I had something, maybe it's because during my childhood, I had out-of-body experiences. I was taken into other dimensions. It had to be 3-4 times a week. It was just a constant thing of me being taken out of my body. My body would be paralyzed. I would experience this I go into a normal sleep, and then here I am becoming awake, and my body is lying on its back, and I can't move the body, but I can be totally aware of the body. And then here comes this light that's getting brighter and brighter and brighter, and I'm being drawn up into this light. And as I move into this light, the whole earth disappears, and I'm in another dimension, and the scenery becomes one of me either sitting in a classroom, talking to some counselor, or having somebody talk to me, or me taking some kind of test, or me talking to a group of people. I was even told that I would be speaking some of the language that nobody has even heard, like I talk in my sleep, and I'd be speaking some language that nobody heard, but I'd be conversing like I was laughing, and they could only hear my side of the conversation, which they couldn't understand because of this language that I was speaking. These things were normal to me. They happened all the time. And when at the age of 9, when I was a couple of weeks from my 9th birthday, I'm sitting in the backyard and on top of an old refrigerator, and I'm just in this meditative state, and I'm enjoying the day. It's warm. There's a breeze, and I'm sitting with my legs folded underneath of me. I'm just feeling so quiet, so appreciative of nature, just listening to the birds chirping and feeling the warmth of the sun and the coolness of the breeze and the combination of that beauty. And I'm thinking, wow, somebody awfully smart has created all of that. Who is this great smartness? Which was my name for God, was the great smartness. I was brought up Christian. I was brought up in the church. Of course, everybody said that it was Jesus. Everybody said that it was Christ, and all that goes with the Christian belief. But my personal experience was raw. It was just my being aware of the fantastic balance and coordination, like an orchestra, how all the instruments come together at the right time to make the perfect symphony, the perfect piece of music. And I was caught up in this harmony. And as I'm sitting with my eyes closed, just thinking of the harmony of all of life, I was lifted up out of my body. And as I looked down at my body sitting on top of the old refrigerator, I felt a little bit scared, because how am I separated? How was I up here and my body down there? That the harmony, the feeling of harmony and tranquility was just permeating my whole self, and I was drawn higher, and I could see the earth starting to fall away, get smaller and smaller, and I was in deep space. And here I am, a unit of consciousness, just occupying a place in deep space. And I noticed, boy, it is awfully quiet out here. Everything was just still. I didn't feel any temperature. I didn't feel hot, didn't feel cold. It was just this quietness, just this still quietness. And I could see the stars blinking and twinkling, and I'm like, this is beautiful. I was then moved inside to say, well, if I'm out here where God is, let me ask God some questions. So I sent out a thought, and I says, God, are you here? And it was silence. I says, God, are you here? And there was silence. I says, God, where are you? And there was silence. And I says, I have a lot of questions to ask. Again, this is not with my mouth. This is me sending thoughts out through my consciousness. And I says, I want to know, why am I on earth? I want to know, why was I born? Am I supposed to do something? Why won't you speak to me? Speak to me. I want to hear you. And this voice came from omnipresent voice, and it says, we are here and we know you and you know us. And I thought, we? What do they mean by we? God is only one being. What do you mean we? And it says, we have sent you. And I says, for what purpose? And they said, for understanding, not just for yourself, but for all others. And I says, okay, so what am I supposed to do? And they were saying, you will know when it is time for you to know. Well, I don't like answers like that. You'll know when it's time for you to know. I want to know now. I'm here now. I'm asking the questions now. You're here now. I want to know now. But I felt a great respect for these beings, and I wanted to see their faces. I wanted to, did I know them before? What's going on? And they just responded by saying that there is great lessons that all of us need to learn, that time was coming to a conclusion, that our opportunities were going to change, and that if we did not take the opportunities as they are given now, we would not be happy about it, that we would have to, start over. So, I mean, there was more conversations, there were more questions that was being asked. I'll keep some of that quiet at this time. I do intend to tell a lot of stuff. I have a lot of stuff to talk about. Here on this earth, there are topics that people are wondering about, whether they're true or not. Cloning, yes, cloning is true. We have people who are walking around who were not born of man and woman. They were not born out of the womb, but they were in fact born out of artificial wombs. You have seen some of these people actually on television. They are in places of influence. They're in places of power. God doesn't, this isn't God's doing. God doesn't clone. This is man's work. There is a lot, whether you talk about how the weather can be manipulated using electromagnetic fields, whether people are being controlled, if people can be killed through thought or killed through electronic targeting. I mean, I have to be careful in some of the details because God has His timing as to when we will talk about these things globally, but things are not the way you think they are. There are very deliberate acts to harm the people of Earth from these ego, vain, mad-minded criminal families who think they're superior to everyone, and they desire to have dominion. I'm very sensitive to people who are trying to have dominion over other people or think that they are superior to other people. God made you an individual. He gave you individual power, individual aptitudes. This over parenting, this over exertion of somebody else's authority, is too much. Guidance is guidance. But dominance is dominance. It's someone attempting through intimidation, through manipulation, through persuasion, someone trying to make you their puppet. I've never liked that. I've had a lot of arguments with my parents. I've had a lot of arguments with supervisors at work, because when you're trying to dominate someone and not allow them to express their individuality, you have really overstepped your relationship boundaries. And we all have relationship boundaries. And when an individual or group of individuals, and I don't care what position they have, I don't care if it's the position of a parent, I don't care if it's the position of a law enforcement officer, I don't care if it's the position of a spouse. When you disrespect the freedom of individuality and independence to the point where you are trying to make somebody a puppet of yours, you're not happy with them unless they are in a state of obedience, blind obedience. I'm not talking about obeying what they know is right or what they can see is right. I'm not talking about obeying counseling. I mean a state where they feel scared because you're going to hurt them if they don't do what you say to do. God is the most powerful being in existence, and he extends to you free will. The only thing he adds on to that free will is that as you use your free will, you must also accept the consequences that comes with your use of free will. So if you try to say, well, I made a mistake, you cannot use the excuse of mistake when you do something repeatedly. When you premeditate something and then act on that premeditation, that's not a mistake. That's a deliberate choice. It's like saying you get up in the morning, you look in the mirror and you say, oh, what kind of outfit do I want to put on today? And you premeditate your outfit and you put on that outfit, and then you go out into the world and they look at you, and some people applaud the outfit and some people condemn the outfit, and then you say, well, I didn't get all the applause that I wanted to have, so I made a mistake. No, you made a choice that some people didn't like. You did not make a mistake. A mistake is an event that is unanticipated. You can make a mistake. Whenever you make a mistake, it must meet the criteria that I did not anticipate the outcome that I got. You can say that that's the mistake. But to sit and think something through and to go through the planning stages of setting it up and making sure that it happens, and then it happens, and then you want to lay the blame on, oh, it was just a mistake. See, God does not fall for any of our tricks. None of our tricks. None of us can fool God. None of us can get away with lying. We can lie to ourselves. We can deceive ourselves. We can deny that we're making deliberate choices and that those deliberate choices are getting us outcomes that we don't want to have. We can say that as a mistake, but God says, no, I watched you. I watched you think about it. I watched you become aroused in your emotions for it. And I watched you perform the physical behavior that got you into the experience that you got into. That is not a mistake. You have to own which is part of growing up, which is part of maturing. You have to own your choices and the consequences that comes from those choices. God is not going to accept that you are attempting to escape consequences. They're going to come. They're going to come on you anyway. They're going to determine the direction that you ultimately end up in anyway. And there's no changing of the past. And because you cannot change the past, it is extremely important what you decide now. Because once you perform an action, you can't take it back. You can't erase it. You can learn from it and let it go so that you make sure you do not repeat it. But it's never going to be erased. You cannot go back and change the past. In terms of time, the whole concept of time is one of the illusions that, again, man doesn't understand, that there is no such thing as time. We are living in an everlasting now. What you call the future is simply events that you plan to encounter, that you're going to encounter. What you call the past is merely a reviewing of events that you have already experienced. But a review is like going into a mental library. It exists. The library exists in the present. The planning stages for what you want to encounter exist in the present. When you mentally precipitate an event, birthday party, celebration, making love, whatever, when you are mentally anticipating and precipitating an event, that event you're going to encounter successfully or unsuccessfully. But it has nothing to do with a location called tomorrow, called time. You cannot travel to the future. You cannot travel to the past. You can only go into what can be called a holographic library, a holographic memory, where you can re-see events that have already occurred, but you can't alter them. You can't make them not be what they were. You can preview what you anticipate are going to be events that are going to happen if those events are energized properly. But you can't travel into a location called the future. There's no such place. Now, God, the apex consciousness, already understands these things. And it is within you to understand these things too. It's going to change your entire perspective on a lot of things. But this is your growth. Some people, maybe a lot of people, don't want to change how they perceive reality. They don't want to change how they value life. And so they're going to resist, they're going to fight, they're going to try to obstruct, they're going to try to distract not only themselves, but to distract you also. It is your job to stay focused. It is your job to stay on track with what you came here to do. It's already within you, is already born in your soul, and that's why I keep saying you must learn to go away from all external distractions, that is mommy, daddy, girlfriends, boyfriends, husbands, wives, children. You got to go away, shut the world out, however you need to do that. Get in your car and drive someplace secluded, go down into a basement, go into a closet, go into a mountain, go someplace where there is no inflow on you. It's just you and yourself. And then ask the great smartness, ask this higher consciousness, ask this grand intelligence, what is in your highest, best interest? Because this higher intelligence is waiting for you to turn to it to receive its counsel. It is there for your service, for your aid, for your help. It is there waiting for you to ask it what is best for you, not what is best for you and somebody else or all the. It's about you. Every one of us has access to this supreme wisdom, and the supreme wisdom is waiting and willing to speak to each and every individual through their soul, and to give them guidance as to who to associate with for the advancement of the soul. You can't take nothing with you. You understand? When it is time for you to leave the flesh, you can't take anything with you. Only your soul is going to transcend and return to God for the ultimate evaluation, and then it will be put back into a body somewhere, back into a uniform of flesh, back into an avatar, somewhere on some planet. There are, in this galaxy alone, there are so many planets with human life, with life on it to some degree. Our scientists are just now starting to discover some of the planets. They're still wondering or hoping that there's life somewhere. Let me tell you, yes. There's life. There's life that is a very advanced. There's life that's the same, on the same level that we presently are. There's life that is, less developed than we are. But right now, the whole universe is looking at this planet Earth right now. Everybody's looking at, because this Earth that we presently occupy is getting ready to have something happen to it that has never happened since this Earth was created. We're going to shift from one dimension, the three dimensions that we're in now, we're going to shift up into a fourth dimensional reality. For those of us who are ready for the upgrade in vibration, we are going to be very, very happy, blissfully happy. For those of you, and I'm saying you, because it ain't going to be me, for those of you who want to complain, who want to fight, who want to obstruct, who want to diminish, who wants to ridicule, who wants to mock, who wants to serve Satan and his demonic opposition. Guess what, y'all? Y'all have a place too, and I ain't going to be with you. So decide, because this is real, this is serious, and I am 10 million zillion percent how can I say, expressing the truth to you. You can't stop it. I can't stop it. Nobody can stop it. It is God's holy, divine, lighted love plan. The completion of human history on this planet is about to commence. And where you are and what you experience, what happens to you, you are at the steering wheel. Your free will is your steering wheel. will. And so the question is, will you be with God, or will you be opposing God? My shout out to the cosmic feminine. She is the most beautiful woman in creation. She is God's daughter. I shout out to her in total love and honor, and I'm waiting for her representative to step forward. I have my eye on her. Let's see what happens. In almighty, holy, lighted love, in goodwill, from the cosmic heart of compassion, tenderness, and powerful security. I'll talk to you later, very soon. So be it. Beloved souls who are curious, who are investigative, who are studious, who are artistic and creative from their spirit through their uniforms of flesh for the purpose of God's divine will. Talk to you later. In total love, in total light, I am Sananda ALfonzo speaking to you.